Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Off-Center Elsewhere in Practice from Island to Mountain Town. I'm Xiangwen Zhu, Director of EC Contemporary, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you all today. Off-Center is a talk and editorial series that I initiated at EC Contemporary. We are a Manchester-based arts organization focusing on East and Southeast Asian contemporary art practices. So this series aims to explore how contemporary art is shaped beyond dominant cultural centers. At EC Contemporary, we're particularly interested in looking beyond the major cities, institutions, and established cultural networks that tend to shape how contemporary art is understood and circulated. But this is not about simply bringing practices from elsewhere into the center or positioning them as somehow peripheral to cultural production. Instead, off-center starts from the idea that these places are already sites where cultural life is actively produced, negotiated, and sustained. The series brings together artists, curators, writers, and researchers working across East and Southeast Asia, foregrounding practices rooted in particular places, practices that develop through everyday life, local knowledge, and the long-term engagement with communities. Across the series, we move between urban villages, county towns, coastal regions, and regional networks, looking at how artistic practice responds to questions of labor, migration, ecology, and social change. We're interested in how art is produced, circulated, and situated within particular environments, and how these environments, in turn, generate their own cultural imaginaries and forms of collective life. And today's conversation is a particularly exciting starting point for the series. For this first edition, From Island to Mountain Town, we're looking at very different contexts across China, asking what it means to build and sustain artistic practices in places beyond the dominant metropolitan networks. We're very fortunate to have Binghuang Xu with us today. Binghuang is a curator, writer, and researcher, and she has curated and organized this conversation, bringing together a wonderful group of practitioners whose work offers very different perspectives on place, community, and cultural production. Binghuang will begin today's event with a short introduction, setting out some of the ideas and questions behind this gathering. Following Binghuang, we will hear from Dingyu Hu, curator and director of the Art Museum of Pond Loach. We will then hear from Ranzhou of Baopu Felt, followed by Ergao from the Ergao Dance Production Group. And then we will finish with Haoduo Tang, founder of Kindergarten Without Walls. I'm particularly interested in hearing the differences between these practices as much as the connections. Just a quick note about the format before we begin. Binghuang's introduction will be 10 minutes, followed by 4 presentations of 15 minutes each. We will keep quite closely to time, so everyone has an equal opportunity to share their work and ideas. We will be giving each presenter a 2-minute reminder when they have 2 minutes remaining. After the presentations, Binghuang will mediate a discussion, with time for questions from the audience as well. Please feel free to put your questions into the chat box at any point during the presentations. We will collect them and try to answer as many as possible during the final discussion. And finally, just a small note about language. All of our speakers today are speaking English as a non-native language, so we would really appreciate everyone's patience and generosity in listening. Please don't worry if you need a little extra time to process something. And equally, speakers, please take your time. There's no pressure to speak quickly. I hope today's conversation can be a space for listening and exchange, but also for questioning some of the assumptions we have about where contemporary art happens, where knowledge is produced, and what cultural practice can look like in different places and contexts. Thank you again to Binghuang and all of our speakers for joining us, and thank you all for being here. And with that, I'm very happy to hand over to Binghuang Xu to begin today's conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiaowen, Lauren, and Easy Contemporary for inviting me to curate and moderate this conversation today. And thank you all very much for Dingyu and Zhou and Yunshan, Ergao, and Haoduo and Yang for joining us today. So for the next 10 minutes, I want to offer a friend for the conversation rather than introduce all the contributors' work in detail. They will do that much better themselves. But I want to remain a question here is behind my framing is quite simple. It's how do our practices change with praise, and what kinds of methods emerge when an organization has to respond to a specific people, structure, and reference around it. So please, Lauren, can you start sharing my slides? So yeah, and can go to the next one. So before that, just briefly about myself and sorry, not moving yet. I'm to the first one. Lauren, the previous one. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So hi again, everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. And I know it's quite late in China, so thank you for bearing this with us. And hi, everyone. My name is Binghuang Xu. I'm a curator and writer based in Guangzhou, China. And my work moves between social practices, art, and alternative education, and environmental justice and experience of mobility and so on. And since 2018, I have co-run the Making Space, an independent art space in South China. That experience matters for today's conversation because I looking at this is for organizations not only as case study, but also from the position of someone who knows the daily work of keeping an independent space alive. And next one, please. Lauren, next slides. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so Making Space was found in 2017 by artist Qiwo He. It is researchly and focused on art and social practice. And we work with artists, writers, educators, and community practitioners and through exhibitions, workshop, and residency. And we also host international residencies, including partnerships with Good Institute, Provincia, and the Dutch Embassy. So understanding people from different places and finding the way to connect is always an important part of my work. And Making Space is a self-fund, independent space and doesn't receive any funding from the government or companies. So what we can do is small, but trying to keep it going in a way that is as sustainable as possible. And for me, knowing the location of Making Space is also quite important for our practices. Is we are in Xinzhou, it's a town, and just nearby the Qiwo River, and it sits within an urban rural edge shaped by the factories and river system. So working inside this kind of a transition has made me keep returning to one question: is could the relationships, knowledge, and the way of organizing also be understood as infrastructure for our practice, and perhaps sometimes work by reconnecting them, making them visible, or combining them in a new way. The next one, please. So that is also why place in this panel means more than a location on a map. Geography is only one part of it. Like the map showing us right now, this map shows the distance, terrain, and regional position of each of the organization who will give us a presentation later. And these four organizations sit in very different spatial structure, like Hainan, the China's southern island province, and the Pearl River Delta, one of the country's most intensively urbanized and industrialized regions. And go to the Southwest Guizhou, the mountainous and the multilingual with Miao, Dong, and other ethnic minority communities. And Qingyuan in Zhejiang is a mountainous county town connected to surrounding township and villages. So we can go to the next one. Thank you. And so for me, praise is geography together with the social relationships and history formed within it. So what I mean by praise is to combine four dimensions like geography and then people means more than who just live there and structure are the social and institutional arrangements that organize everyday life and access and so on. And the temporality means the histories, memories, season rhythms, and migration circle and the the long duration through which relationships are built. So what interests me is how practitioners read these conditions, make choices within them, and gradually reorganize their own work. And next, please. As we already posed, these are the four organizations we will hear from today. So the Kindergarten Without Words group from Ban Ban Grocery initiates in Hainan Island in 2017, and the Children Focus Program began in 2018, and its work centers on art, writing, companionship, and alternative education. And Ergao Dance Production Group began in 2007 and later found the Southern Dance House in Zhuotang Village in 2024, yes. And Baopu Vale was found in Cali in 2024, like increasingly trading the local knowledge and the relationships as like infrastructure. And to the Art Museum of Pond Loach, opened in Qingyuan County in 2023, like thinking through what Dingyu calls the county town. So there are four different working conditions from specific places. And I am keeping the description short because each of the contributor will introduce their practices from the inside. So next. Thank you. I for all the process that when I knowing them, I mean the four organizations and also all the people who are working within it, I was especially down to the point where an established way of working shift, like the kindergarten without words, it began with children entering a grocery shop, and the others is like the Ergao, their like a one recent turn came when its Guangzhou space closed. And so what I call this turning point because they show when praise starts being just only just background, but being to change the map first. Next one, please. Next, please. Thank you. No, the previous one. Yeah, thank you. So these practices leads to the question that I hope can stay open today, like what condition are first asked the practice to change, who make the changes, And for me, this is the larger point, like artistic methods are not simply applied to a place, they are invented, tested, and revised through the encounter with specific conditions and of course by people. Next one. So before I hand over, I want to thank you, EC Contemporary, especially Xiaowen and Lauren and the team for making this conversation happen. I met Xiaowen and EC Contemporary 3 years ago. It's also the first time for me to join the international program. And since then, me and Xiaowen, we keep sharing our professional life or maybe our different perspective on different kind of a thing. And the time leads us today, like 3 years after way knowing each other like better, and so also like make the conversation happen today. So also I want to say like to everyone who joined us today for spending the time with us and getting to know these practices a little more closely. So we will hear first from Dingyu, the director of the Art Museum of Loach, and then Zhou and Yunshan and Jiang Yunshan, and then Ergao, and then finally to Haoduo and Yang. After the full presentation, I will offer one share question to everyone, and then Xiaowen and I will move into the audience Q&A session. So thank you very much, and with that, I will hand it over to Dingyu.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dingyu from the Art Museum of Loach, or Niqiu Meishuguan. First of all, thank you all for being here. I would also like to thank Binghuang, Xiaowen, and Lauren from EC Contemporary for your thoughtful coordination and support. I am particularly excited to share the institutional practices of a Contitan Art Museum with the audience here at EC Contemporary, because many of you are engaged with the cultural conditions and contemporary practices of East and Southeast Asia. My topic today would be inhabiting and inventing Contitan time through the practices of the Art Museum of Loach. Next slide. So let me first introduce the museum itself. This photograph shows the Art Museum of Loach, Niqiu Meishuguan, during its first winter. The museum was founded in the autumn of 2023, and it is now entering its 4th year of development. It's located in Qingyuan County, Zhejiang Province, China. It's an independent, non-profit contemporary art museum, free and open to the public throughout the year, including Mondays. Apart from artists, curators, and cultural professionals, our visitors are mainly local residents of different ages and backgrounds. Sometimes people come to walk their dogs. Sometimes they have barbecues on the museum lawn. Sometimes they simply spend some time here. In that sense, the museum is not only a place for encountering contemporary art, it has gradually become part of everyday life in the Contitan. Architecturally, this museum may appear almost like an unexpected contemporary structure surrounded by mountains and snow. It's indeed a rather unusual presence in a Contitan setting. And this leads to the question, what is a Contitan? Next slide. So when we think about contemporary China, the images that often come to mind are usually mega cities like Beijing, Shanghai, or on the other hand, rural villages. But between these two familiar images exists another important yet often overlooked space, the County-town, or Xiancheng in Chinese. According to data from around 2020, approximately 600 million people in China live with county and township level social structures. That's roughly half of the population. For these people, the county town is not simply an administrative unit. It's a lived structure that shapes the everyday experiences, life trajectories, social relationships, and imagination of the future. between the continuity, tradition, and slower rhythms often associated with the countryside and the acceleration, ambition, and narratives of progress represented by metropolitan cities, the County-town exists as a complex intersection. It is where rural residents access education and healthcare, where young people migrate away in return, where administrative systems operate, where aspirations and, more importantly, frustration accumulate, and where old and new lifestyles constantly overlap. Therefore, the county-town is not merely a transitional space between the countryside and the city. It's a crucial site for understanding the complexity of contemporary China. Next slide. So a quick look at Qingyuan. I was born in Qingyuan in 1990s, where the Art Museum of Loach is now located. It's a compact county town surrounded by mountains, where everyday life unfolds within a closed social and spatial network. You can imagine how this particular environment shapes everyday rhythm and the social relationships and their experiences of time. Next slide. What is Niqiu? Do you have any idea what is Niqiu or the pond loach? The pond loach is a small and slippery fish, a species commonly found across East Asia. It's difficult to capture and it survives by adapting to muddy and changing environments in Qingyuan. And pond loach stew is also a local dish, which is where the name of our museum comes from. To be a pond loach means to inhabit the mud between urban and rural areas, preserving vitality beneath the surface. Through contemporary art and cultural research, the Art Museum of Pond Loach engaged with the everyday society of the county, a living arena that has long been overlooked. We collaboratively create, exhibit, research, collect, and promote modest yet meaningful contemporary art. We envision a future-oriented county culture characterized by openness, inclusivity, and respect, and hope to contribute to a form of contemporary art production that is more socially connected and alive. Next slide. That is to say, we do not intend to reduce the complexity of the county-town into a simple form of locality or regional identity of Qingyuan, as often happens in some art-led rural construction or revitalization projects. At the same time, we also refuse the ambition of a self-sufficient and internally complete art systems often associated with metropolitan cities. Instead, we position county-town time, 县城时间, as our institutional horizon, a way to engage with the movement, transition, negotiation, and everyday transformation that continuously take place within the 县城. Ultimately, this is a temporal question. To be a pond loach means to ask, how do people live through change? How is time experienced? Next slide. County-town time. The ANPO also asks how a distinctive local system of administrative division and social organization configures people's life trajectories, emotional structures, and their ways of relating to the past, present, and future of the county-town. The institution seeks to compose a shared time between the artist's media-specific temporalities and the public time of the county-town audiences. It creates a context where something that has almost been articulated yet has remained without language suddenly becomes recognizable as an urgent need. It is through such encounters that different lived experiences become connected through a shared affective life. Next slide. So how do we put the idea into practice? We organize approximately 3 exhibitions every year, mainly solo exhibitions. In this way, we hope that when our audiences encounter contemporary art for the first time, it does not arrive in an intimidating or overwhelming way. Instead, it comes with the artist's distinctive personality, the texture of their artist practices, and their own interpretation or their ways of dealing with the Contitang temporality. This is our first exhibition, Qingyuan Chariots, a solo exhibition by Shi Bing. In this exhibition, the artist transformed one of the most commonly used vehicles in the Contitang, the electric scooter, electric bike, 电动车, into a symbolic battle vehicle of Qingyuan. It was quite serious, or say somehow heavy, a way of looking at everyday life in the Conti through imagination and artistic transformation. Most importantly, by shipping Dongbei, a northeastern China, and he comes from a industrial city from northeastern China, so that's his character. That's his personal character. And next slide. The second exhibition was Butterful Bad Baby, so not beautiful, but Butterful, a solo exhibition by All Ying Ensemble. All Ying Ensemble, 老妖精 in Chinese. The name itself came from the idea of the old spirits or bad babies, a playful way of questioning conventional ideas of beauty. So you can see these girls on the right side of the slides. They are a performance group, and a solo exhibition by a performance group is already a relatively unusual format. When they arrived in Qingyuan, their colorful appearances immediately attracted attention. Their pink, red, and green hair became part of the social landscape of the Contitang. Instead of simply observing the local community, they become aware that they were also being observed. Therefore, the artist decided to work with this relationship of mutual gazing, exploring a kind of broken beauty, 美丽坏掉, and asking how, who has the right to define beauty? Through this process, people in the Contitang could also imagine themselves as beautiful, as expressive, and as the protagonists of their own lives. Next slide. So here we encounter very honest and sometimes intense responses from our audiences. During Shi Bing's exhibition, one visitor commented, "I took them there yesterday and they said not to invite them again next time." And then it was not necessarily a positive response, but for us it was a very meaningful one, because it showed that the audiences did not treat contemporary art as something untouchable or beyond criticism. They responded according to their own experiences and feelings. And during All in Ensemble's exhibition, a young girl wrote, "I would also love to go to Shanghai, Beijing, anywhere really, but unfortunately I'm a girl from Qingyuan and cannot find my way out of these mountains." Thank you for coming all the way here and showing us that the outside world is truly beautiful. Seeing it once is already enough. For us, these responses are not simply feedback, they are encounters. The audiences does not exist only as a receiver of contemporary art. They become participants in shaping the meaning of the artwork and the institution itself. Next slide. This leads us to a specific institutional condition of this art museum. It's in a place without a pre-existing language of contemporary art. Artistic practice and educational practice become inseparable. Here, education is not simply an institutional function added after exhibitions. Rather, it becomes a way in which art exists within the Canton context. To introduce contemporary art in Qingyuan is not only to explain artworks, but also to create the conditions for encounters, conversations, and new forms of understanding. Next slide. In this context, Niqiu, the ANPL, continues to explore how artistic practice and educational practice can become intertwined. This is the exhibition Haoduo, a project in 2024. In this project, artists Li Ming and Zhu Shangquan, who teach animation courses at the China Academy of Art, developed a series of artistic practices or experiments. The museum recorded these classes and simultaneously broadcast them to 3 high schools in Qingyuan High School and 2 vocational high schools as part of their art education classes. At the end of the course, everyone participated in creating a shared symbol. So this symbol, you can see this mysterious and playful symbol installed on the museum lawn. Next slide. This is the same symbol installed at Qingyuan High School after the completion of the project. Soon after, these students entered the intensive period of preparation for the National College Entrance Examination. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, this one. So each student, you can see the long list of artists. So each student was invited to imagine a pronunciation for this symbol, for this weird symbol, and contribute their own voice to it. These voices were then recorded and preserved through the asteroid blockchain protocol, creating a symbolic space where each individual voice could exist equally and permanently as committed by the technique. And next slide. These are some of the playful voices contributed by students from Qingyuan High School. Please play the videos.
酷学
Shoo.
呀哈哔哔
Quite naughty voices. And later, this project expanded from the school into the wider Canton community, and we collected more than 500 different voices. Next slide. This is another project. This is the last exhibition of Niqiu Meishuguan, the ANPL, called Laughter, the 3rd exhibition of the Huang Xiaopeng Art and Education Society. So Huang Xiaopeng is an important artist and educator. This exhibition understood laughter not simply as an emotional reaction, but as a flow of childlike vitality, moving between teacher and student, between you and me, and between the Canton Art Museum and its audiences. Through this exhibition, we continue to explore the connection between artistic practices, education, and everyday relationships. Next slide. So after the exhibition, the Huang Xiaopeng Art and Education Society generously loaned his personal library, preserved from his lifetime, containing more than 5,000 books, to the Art Museum of Loach. The library is now gradually open to the public, allowing visitors to freely read and spend time with these books inside the museum. Next slide. So ultimately, the Art Museum of Loach hopes to create a place where we can spend some time together, to encounter art, to encounter each other, and to inhabit and invent the Contiton time together. So thank you. That's pretty much all.
Thank you, Dingyu,
Yeah.
for bringing us into the idea of county town, and especially the way artistic and educational practices can become inseparable in Yuan. So thank you. And next, let's move to Guizhou. I'd like to invite Zhou and Yunshan Jiang from Baopu Vale.
All right. Thank you to Binghuang and to EC Contemporary. So hello everyone, I'm Zhou. I'm the co-founder and director of Baopu Felt. We are an independent art space based in Kaili, Guizhou in southwest China. So today, together with my fellow co-founder Yunshan Jiang, and also on behalf of our other co-founder Dan Hong, who couldn't join us today, I'll be sharing some reflections on our institutional practice in Guizhou over the past 2 years. So when I introduce Baopu Felt internationally, I usually have to explain Guizhou before I can explain the institution, because terms such as ethnic minority, heritage, folk culture, or indigenous can immediately place Guizhou within a very different frameworks. Sometimes before we have really begun to look at the place itself. So I want to begin with what Guizhou looks like from where we work. Let's go to the next slide. So within the Chinese contemporary art world, many professional networks are still concentrated in Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, and also increasingly in cities such as Shenzhen, Hangzhou, and Kaili, and more broadly, Guizhou and much of like Southwest China still sits at the very edge of these contemporary art circuits. But Kaili has a very different position within its own region. It is the capital of Qiandongnan Autonomous Prefecture in Guizhou. And in recent years, both Kaili and Guizhou have become much more visible through the rapid growth of cultural tourism economy in China, Wenlu. A lot of this attention comes from the region's distinctive ethnic cultures, including Miao and Dong traditions of like batik, textile making, weaving, silver work, architecture, music, and oral culture. So these are also some of the images through which Guizhou is most often represented. What interests us is how many other realities exist alongside them. So contemporary Guizhou is also shaped by like high-speed rail, enormous bridges, data centers, smartphones, live streaming, migration, and also mass tourism and rapidly changing towns and villages. For example, let's say a batik workshop, a live streaming studio, a tourist village, and a newly built highway may just exist within just 100 meters of one another. For me, the way all these images exist together is one of the most interesting conditions of working here. Handmade and industrial production, oral traditions and the digital media, also like heritage policy in everyday life, tourism and contemporary art constantly overlap. So this makes Guizhou a particular rich place to research and work from. So different ways of living, different forms of knowledge, different economies and ways of representing culture. They're all developing at the same time. So Baopu felt we just grew out of this environment. Okay, next slide. So when I speak about Guizhou in English, I often run into a question of translation very quickly. So many of the things we work with, like ethnic minority languages, textiles, family knowledge, and forms of cultural transmission can feel quite familiar through the framework of indigenous art. And this is why I put these two contexts next to each other here. On the left, there are some of the ideas that have become very important in indigenous and decolonial conversations in English-speaking art and museum context. These ideas come from specific histories. In North America, for example, indigenous cultural politics are deeply connected to settler colonialism, land depossession, treaty relations, residential schools, sovereignty, and long struggles for cultural and political recognition. But Guizhou comes from a very different historical and institutional context. Miao, Dong, and other ethnic minority cultures in China have developed through another set of systems, like ethnic classification, ethnic regional autonomy, cultural policy, heritage making, tourism, and regional development. Of course, there are shared questions, like representation is one of them. Cultural transmission, ownership, authority, and also, of course, commercialization, and also resonate across these contexts. But the histories behind those questions are different. So when we bring the word indigenous into Guizhou, it can reveal certain connections, but it can also flatten or hide the specific political and historical structure of the place. That is why, for me, comparison is useful, while equivalence is much more difficult. And this is also why translation has become part of our institutional practice at Baopu Felt. We are constantly asking how we can enter international conversations while keeping the historical specificity of Guizhou visible. Okay, next slide. So this question of translation has gradually shaped the way we work as an institution. So Baopu felt we began as a very small artist residency. At the beginning, we didn't have a fixed institutional model. We started by just spending time in the field ourselves, inviting artists and curator friends to stay in Guizhou and allowing relationships and research questions to develop through longer periods of living, traveling, and working together. Over time, the residency grew into an art space. So today, our work includes residencies, exhibitions, field research, publications, and public programs. Along the way, we have also built relationships with like local craft people, researchers, collectors, and families and communities across the region. And this network has become one of the most important forms of the infrastructure for FOAT. In Kaili, that infrastructure can take many forms. It can be a collector who has spent 30 years building a textile archive. It can be a woman who can identify where a garment comes from, how it was made, and roughly when it was made, simply by just looking closely at its construction. It can be a local teacher documenting a writing system, and it can be a family archive that has never been entered the museum. And our role often begins by bringing these different forms of knowledge into contact with one another. So when an artist or researcher comes to Felt, we might spend days traveling together, visiting villages, meeting craftspeople, looking through different private collections, and talking with local researchers, or following a question that only emerges once the residency is already underway. So field work has gradually become part of our institutional structure. Next slide. One example is our ongoing thematic program. It's called The Shape of Language. We launched it in 2025 around writing system, oral traditions, and different language practices in Southwest China. The season began with several months of residency and field work. Artists and researchers approached the language through very different materials and methods. like local writing systems or histories, sound, images, rituals, and archives, of course. And from there, the research gradually developed into different public forms. One was the residency exhibition, where we still dream of lost vocabularies, curated by Binghuang, which brought together the research and works developed during the residency. And you can also find more information on our website. Our updates tend to be a little delayed, but the archive is quite comprehensive, so we're still gradually adding more materials. And the other was Language in Action. It's a peer learning retreat initiated by Xinyi. It brought artists, researchers, and participants together for a more collective process of sharing, discussion, and field-based learning. So for us, the thematic season is a longer process. Residency, field work, exhibition, and collective learning are connected, but they do not have to lead to the same kind of outcome. And this year, we are still developing the second season, continuing to explore how artists and researchers can work alongside one another while keeping their own methods and positions. And we've also just launched the open call for the new residency. So if you are interested, you can find more information on our official WeChat account. Okay, next slide, please. So there's also a personal reason why Guizhou's position matters to me. So I spent many years studying and practicing art in Vancouver, in New York, in London. And through those experiences, I became increasingly wary of the institutional language around diversity and representation. And these conversations matter, of course, but they can also produce very predictable roles for artists coming from outside the Western center. As an artist with a Chinese background, I could find myself repeatedly asked to perform a legible version of my identity, to explain where I came from, to represent cultural difference, or enter conversations through categories that already established elsewhere. And over time, I became kind of less interested in asking how a practice from my background might fit into those frameworks, especially when doing so might mean flattening the ambiguity and complexity of a specific cultural context. And working in Guizhou opened up another possibility to begin from a specific place with its own histories, contradictions, and knowledge systems and contemporary realities, many of which have not already been packaged or absorbed by the Western-centric contemporary art world. At the same time, Baopu felt cannot become enclosed within Guizhou. We maintain exchanges with artists, curators, and institutions in Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. Of course, Chengdu, Hangzhou, and other cities, as well as with practitioners based in places such as New York, London, Vancouver, and Paris. And these relationships give us reference points. They help us to understand where felt sits within Chinese contemporary art and within a broader international field, while also challenge the question we developed there. And this matters because locality can itself become a fixed identity. If Baopu felt is repeatedly understood through the same terms, Guizhou, ethnic minority culture, craft, heritage, and those categories may eventually begin to determine what the institution is expected to produce. So we keep locating ourselves. For me, the direction of travel matters. We begin from Guizhou and build outward. And we are trying to create a cultural and intellectual position from which this place can generate questions and concepts of its own, and then bring them into conversation with other parts of China and the wider contemporary art world. At the moment when the world feels increasingly divided, I have little interest in occupying a culturally legible role already prepared for someone with my background. And building Baopu field is one way of testing another position. And exchanges like today's panel are part of that process, speaking outward from a particular place while allowing the encounter to challenge us in return. And for me, this is practice. And for us, this is experimentation and reflection. And in some ways, it is also a form of resistance. So that's my presentation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Joran. Thank you so much for indicate the complexity about Guizhou and also your systematic practices. And before we move to the next one, I also want to set a reminder. And if any of you are interested or have questions about our contributors' presentation, please, you are more than welcome to type in your question in the chat box. So we will read it through on the last session. So thank you, Joran, again. And next, we will return to the Pearl River Delta with Ergao from Ergao Dance Production Group. Welcome, Ergao.
榕樹下係乜嘢嚟嘅？梗係俾人休息㗎啦。
嘿嘿，游戏吧，坐下来丢手帕，一个两个三个他。 谁会是下一个傻瓜？就要死啦！他们面对面笑着太好了，不要告诉他。来练习一下好不好？轻轻轻轻地靠近他。
Hi everyone. Just remind everybody before my presentation. Today is Saturday. Cheers. So I put some lights, like the atmosphere more chill, you know. Okay, as Binghuang introduced before about me. Yes, Ergao Dance Production Group from since like 2007, but during the pandemic and after the pandemic, my dream failed, my career failed. So I closed down the studio in the central, and then I moved to the village. So I get up again. So I changed the term of my company name called Southern Dance House. It means like more welcome as a ballroom. So everybody can dance and for free, like who interested dance. Next slide, please. Next, please. Yeah, my name is Ergao. Now we base in Guangzhou and Shunde. I'm a choreographer, dancer, and I also curating some activity. Yeah, up to now. Next, please. So as you can see, this poster and pictures, my world is full of colors and full of daily life vibe. And beside the theater work, I also make dance film and curate community activity. Apart from working with professional dancers, I also very much collaborate with the agent. The last slide, please. I collaborate with the disabled artists and Asian women from local community. Yeah, next, please. For me, a performance is like a gathering between different groups of people. It can happen in theaters, public space, or even someone's home. So I will break my talk into two parts. Next slide. So first, I would like to talk about my artistic practice and my creation, discotheca. Discotheca is a 3 years long-term dance research project. It was like look back to the journey of 1980s to 90s of China. And I wonder how young people use pop culture to see free expression and connect with the wider world. Next, please. Over these 3 years, we have done work in progress, showings and talk in school, bookstore, and independent events. We collect memories and personal story about disco culture from peoples of all ages. Next, please. Yeah, we show the showcase, and we have a talk in the bookshop and school, university. Next, please. Here you can see the cassette tape of Chinese pop singers from that period. I believe most people born after 2000 have never seen this. So it means we are getting older. Okay, next I want to show the video about in these 10 years the performance and on the stage and the activity. I try to put all the material in 1 minute to show about like how the chemistry and the vibe to you. Okay, thank you. Yeah, the last this we was performed in UK in the place.
Yeah.
And it was so it was so fun because it's the Western pop culture transformed to China, but now we lead the audience in UK. We dance together in disco. Okay, the next is my recent work called On the Upgrade. Next, please. This work it runs from 2025 to 2028. Its first performance version was commissioned by Tycoon in Hong Kong. I started from my own neighborhood, where I found this beautiful rust spring, like I read now, through this constantly traveling textiles. I hope to bring different communities together. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the neighborhood where African community live in Guangzhou. We call Chocolate City. So I hope in the future, people realize maybe we should change the name. Next. Oh, yeah, okay. Maybe you just like go next slide. I go faster. So this neighborhood it's just like 5 or 10 minutes by work from my house. I get haircut here, take a songto dance classes here, and go shopping as well. And also this September, I heading to France, Italy, and Switzerland because I want to keep researching this West Spring. I hope to build a future international collaboration with artists from different countries. Next, please. Oh, so slow. And I also bought this beautiful vest to the villager. It lets the grandma bring out the craft skill and imagination. Next, please. I also get the families in need to make souvenir for me so they can get earn extra income. And also the grandma helped me to make the props as well. Yeah, next. Yeah, the grandma when they make finish the props, they wear on their body and dance and also take the video clip to me. Inspire me a lot. Next. Yeah, next is some movement research. Yeah, the traditional, foreign, local, and cross-cultural. They are all elements I want to present in this project. Next, I want to show my my Ghana friend. Yeah. So we attend another community in Guangzhou. In the end, everything gets collaged together until you can no longer tell what is original. and what is a copy. Next, please. Yeah. Yeah, I want to show some element and video performance on the stage to you. Next. What I really want to say is like dance as a collaboration of community and identity. Next. Yep, the final part is about the Western project in Shunde Village, Creative Lab. Next, please. We invite local and international artists to come and live in the village together. There's no pressure to create finished works. Like an artist study collective. Everyone learns skill from one another and also share those skills with people from the local community. Next. Yeah. If one day you are in China, in Guangzhou, please visit us. It will be so much fun. Next. Okay. Thank you very much. Heart.
Thank you, Ergao. Thank you very much to showing like how community as for matters to you, and no matter this community is pointed to what kind of neighborhood, no matter they are located from your hometown or maybe the urban area that you are living in, or maybe the space that you're running right now located in the village. And thank you for sharing. And finally, we will hear from Kindergarten Without Words. And for this presentation, Haoduo has invited his friend Yang to help present the work in English. So thank you, Yang, for helping us share the project today. And let's hand over to them.
Thank you, Binghuang and Easy Contemporary. Hi everyone, I'm Yang. I feel so honored to be here and help Haoduo to share his thoughts on his practices. I'm a volunteer for the project Kindergarten Without Walls, and I also work in art event programming. In 2017, Haoduo opened a small grocery store in an urban village community in Haikou, the capital of Hainan province in southern China. That small act marked the beginning of a now 9-year journey of social art practice and exploration. But why should an artist open a grocery store? The decision came from a fundamental question he asked himself. If he were not an artist, what kind of person would he become? That question led him to leave behind the traditional art world, then step into the vibrant yet messy reality of community life. Haoduo rented a shop in Binglian Xinchun, you can see on the picture, a crowded urban village. He named it Quality Time Variety Store, meaning it is not just a grocery store, but a space that offers companionship and a sense of togetherness. Next slide, please. The turning point came in May 2018. In the early hours of one morning, Haoduo encountered a girl wandering the streets near the store. Her name was Yueliang, Moon. She was 13 years old, school dropout, and was living a difficult life. That encounter then led to a 10-year commitment to support her development, Moon Education Plan. As more children began coming to the store to play, and also at that time, Haoduo had started to take a serious interest in children's education issues in China. The same year, he launched the Kindergarten Without Walls, a community-based children's education project, turning the store into a place for children to play and learn together. It's not a traditional kindergarten. It operates on weekends and Friday evenings. No tuition, no enrollment requirements, no barriers. Welcoming primarily migrant children and others let out of the mainstream study from the neighborhood. The core principle is simple. Talk and interact with children as equals. Try to see things from their perspective and explore different ways of working with them. Over the years, the project has grown into a rich ecosystem of activities. We have workshops, film nights, a children's library, children's markets where kids sell their paintings, old books, and toys. One-day bookshop keeper where children take turns running the store by themselves. And we also have children's oral improvisational poetry. 2 volumes have already been published. And English practice sections, outdoor outings, and many more. The project has now served over 200 children with more than 500 events held to date. Next slide, please. In 2022, during the second year of the global COVID-19 pandemic, the first Kindergarten Without Wall Children's Art Festival was launched. The festival is a little bit special. We borrow storefronts from neighbors, take unused spaces, and transform streets and public areas into venues for 3 to 5 day art events. We recruit artists of all ages from around the world, with each year featuring about 40 events. We can see the map of the events areas. Next slide, please. In 2024, for the third Children's Art Festival, Nika, an artist from the UK, and the widow of anthropologist David Graeber, came, and together with the children, they imagined and drew a painting of Everyday Carnival Playground, a space of endless creativity and play. And for the fourth Children's Art Festival, the kids themselves introduced to the curatorial team to a senior service center in the neighborhood. After speaking with the community director, we finally secured the venue's support, greatly expanding the children's activity space. Next slide, please. On the final day of every festival, we take to the streets with children for a parade. Just the picture on the left. Yeah, it has become a fixed tradition, the joyful closing ceremony of the festival. So the project follows its without walls philosophy. Next slide, please. Oh, sorry. the previous one. Sorry. Yeah, here. It is supported and funded by private donors and Haoduo's friends. A volunteer network of teachers, artists, people from all walks of life, and community members supports the work. The project exists in the margins, in the gaps. It's what one observer called a guerrilla playground, created in the small spaces between buildings, next to garbage dumps, in the limited public place available. It operates with no permanent budget, no administrative office, no rigid structure. And yet, everything flows naturally. Volunteers mix with participants, artists with children, children from poor areas and children from wealthier backgrounds. It is about fostering a creative and caring community for children in the surroundings. So next part, let's move on to Hainan Wallace Art 艺术宫 Art Gongqi. With an art festival for children, Haoduo also hope to co-create one for adults. There are already residency spaces we stay in touch with, so it is the time. Art Gongqi is a residency-based art project initiated in 2024. Haoduo draws inspiration from the traditional Gongqi folk practice in north-central Hainan, China, where a village gathers each year to celebrate the birthday of a local deity. Gong meaning deity and Qi meaning birthday. But in Art Gongqi, the meaning has been extended. Gong means public and Qi means period, making the entire island the canvas for art. Next slide, please. So, what makes the festival special? Each year, the Art Gongqi spans about 4 to 5 months, from the end of one lunar year into the new year. Haoduo thinks that festivals arise from people's own spiritual needs. Just like in public festivals, people don't need to be organized. They participate spontaneously, acting with mutual understanding and collaborating naturally. The Art Gongqi is deeply rooted in this area. It is not a top-down curated exhibition. It is a living, breathing celebration of connection. Next slide, please. So the activities include, not limited to, music sections, film screenings, electric scooter parades, forums, group exhibitions, village feasts, mutual visits between artists and communities, and starting in 2026, ring graffiti. So one of the most delightful features is the electric scooter art parade, just like Qingyuan just mentioned in the city of Qingyuan, just Dingyu mentioned in the first section. Haikou is also known as the city of electric vehicles. So the festival turns this everyday practice into a creative experience. Viewers ride decorated e-scooters between exhibition spaces, breaking down the traditional museum boundaries and bringing art directly into streets. In 2025 inaugural edition, we attracted over 40 artists and featured more than 20 art and cultural events. The second edition, which opened in March this year, gathered 38 artists from across China, mainland China, and internationally, presenting nearly 50 works. Next slide, please. The Art Gongqi, similar to Kindergarten Without Walls, is an ever-unfolding process. It has no preset goals, remain inclusive and open, firmly believing in the power of grassroots, local and self-organized efforts. We don't prescribe outcomes. We create spaces where things can happen organically. As Haoduo puts it, the community is not about being a one-way service provider. It can be a nurturing system, an emotional network alongside one's family. Art also doesn't need to be happen inside galleries. It can happen on street corners, in villages, on electric scooters, wherever people gather. Next slide, please. Next, yeah. So to close, I'd like to leave you with a preview of our upcoming 5th Children's Art Festival. It will be held from August 24th to 30th in Mingtown Village at the lower part of Wuyuan River area and in Binglian Xinchun Community Area, Haikou. We are also collaborating with partners in Shanghai and Ordos for a 3-city joint event in the months to come. That wraps up my sharing. Thank you for listening and for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Haoduo and Yang. And because the time is limited, so I will just go directly to the share question to everyone, and also looking for the response from by following the order of our presentation today. So throughout today's discussion, we have focused on how artistic methods change with specific places. So, but like, how do you decide what in your practice should change in response to a place, and what you need to hold on to, even when it doesn't immediately fit the local expectation? Yeah, so maybe we can first listen to the answer from the Dingyu.
Okay. I think this is actually one of the central questions of our practice. For us, responding to the place does not mean simply making art fit local expectations. If we only adapt to what people already understand or expect, art may lose its imagination and agency. What changes is the way we mediate between the quantiton and contemporary art, our methods, rhythms, and forms of encounter. But what we hold on to is the openness and complexity of artistic practice itself. For example, when we started working in Qingyuan, we realized that many audiences were unfamiliar with formats such as lectures, workshops, and public programs that are common in metropolitan art institutions. Instead of preparing, let's say, even training our audiences to follow an urban model of art participation, we reconsidered our own institutional methods. We integrated public education more closely with the exhibitions, with the artistic practices, allowing conversations and experiences to emerge naturally from artworks into everyday life. At the same time, we do not simplify contemporary art for the audiences. People may like an exhibition, dislike it, or even reject it, and we value these responses because they create genuine encounters. So perhaps the question is not what art should change for the place, but how art and the vitality of the quantiton can transform each other over time. Thank you. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you. So let's go to Yunshan.
Hi guys, let me introduce myself. I'm Yunshan, and I'm an artist, and I also one of the co-founders of Baopu Felt. And back to the Binghuang's question, I think for me, the main thing is that the principle can stay the same, but the way I work can change. For example, when we go to the village for field work, people are often very warm, very kind, and they may offer you homemade rice wine, corn wine. in that place, drinking together can be part of how they welcome you, and toast can also be a kind of blessing. But I personally try not to drink too much. So I remember one time I went to a village for the Jiqiao festival. It's basically a local festival for the bridge. The people go to the bridge, burn incense, and offer rice and wine and food. After that, everyone gets together, eats and drinks, drink a lot, and dances around a big wooden drum. And I remember that day I had driven there, and I still had about 2 hour drive through the mountains to get back. So the villagers were very enthusiastic and gave me a full cup of wine. I said I was driving, so I couldn't drink, and they took the cup away and poured half back and said, "Then you can just drink half." Of course, I didn't drink. Drunk driving is illegal, so but I actually felt a little sorry that I couldn't join them, because I could see that sharing the wine was also part of how they welcome the people and celebrate together. So after that, when I went to bigger local festivals, I started to plan differently. I would try not to drive or stay in the village for one night if possibly. Then I could relax and join them, drink a little bit, dance together. So sometimes I don't need to change my principle. I just need to change how I work. Then I can be more open to the local way to doing things. So yeah, that's how I see the question. Thank you.
When I moved to the village, I realized all the villagers they are all so familiar, and also they are relative each other. So it's very difficult to have a dance workshop to invite them. And also in the village, most of them are aging, so they are not so proud of themselves to dance. They're afraid to show the beauty, or they're afraid to show the body to each other. So we find we find a solution. We invite them as an audience. They come once and they find out, oh, maybe I can try next time, because the participant or a teenager, or they are so young from another city, or from another um, um, uh, um, a community as well. So time to time, we invite the villager, they to make a connection. And also, as Yunshan says, drinking and smoking in China is one of the culture. So we are artists, but we also part of the villager. So I try and be more humble and put my character more next to them. And if they have a festival, they will invite me, and I also need to be very active to toast a drinks with them. Yeah, I think this is one of the method when I surviving in the village. Thank you.
大家好。这个问题对于我来讲，我觉得可能是我是作为更多的是一个组织性的工作，所以对于类似于比如像创作这样的一个方式的话，可能我很难去从另外一个角度来去讲。但是对于我的个人的实践来讲，我觉得我总是在我和他者和这个地方的关系当中，在思考或者是在试图去互相的一个对话。
The Kindergarten Without War project, Haoduo is act as an organizer, so he's a little bit hard for him to talk from a perspective of creator. So as an organizer, he always think about the relationship between this project and the community around it, and also the people he will meet, whether it's artists, it's the children or the volunteers. So I think what he wants to convey is that the relationship is what he's most concerned about. He's want to listen to people's needs, like what the children are thinking to use this space, like this grocery store, and also what artists coming to this place. They want to create workshops with the children, and how to make these things work together is his concerns. Yeah, thank you.
我还继续吗？ 我还
Uh,
想再说一句。
Okay, you can go.
还有就是有时候我在这个工作当中，我就会觉得我很害怕，就是我过去的经验，是否是可以直接再去面对他们的，所以我更多是一个观察者，是一个倾听者，然后我会用很多的那种比较试探的或者是一种邀请的方式，来进行一个就是这种实践的一个方法。
So as an artist, Haoduo used to focus on like conceptual arts. He's afraid that his experience will intervene the work he's with the children. So he's always observing, listening to the kids' voice, and try to invite them to tell their real thoughts. It's a way of more subtle and more welcoming way of letting the children to take charge of the grocery shop, like be the charge of the kindergarten without war, rather than the adults to take the charge. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is Haoduo and thank you. And I think this responses give us a bridge from the individual presentations into a shared discussion. And I also think now is the moment open the conversation to the audience. And next, I will hand it over to Xiaowen.
I can see 3 audience questions. Let's see if it's possible to answer them all. The first question is addressed towards Dingyu. Could you share more about the project with the local high schools, like how the collaboration came into place and who initiated the idea?
Okay, so I'll talk a bit about the project Collider, a bit more about it. So this project originated from the course taught by the artists Li Ming and Zhu Changquan at the Free Art Studio, China Academy of Arts. It was the students' first professional courses in contemporary art. So the artists shared started from very basic practices such as frame-by-frame animation and gradually moved toward experimental video and eventually, surprisingly, blockchain technology. What interested me was and also the museum team was not only the content of the course, but the process itself. It demonstrated how art can move, can come into being in a context where contemporary art does not yet have an established presence. So make it happen. And this was closely connected to the situation of the museum and also later resonated with Wang Xiaopeng Art and Education Society exhibition. As the course continued, I started thinking about how it could enter into a more specific relationship with Qingyuan, with the Tang context. Initially, I imagined, although I was born in Qingyuan, I imagined that perhaps there might be a college or vocational university in the county that we could collaborate with. But I discovered that Qingyuan's highest educational institutions were actually its high schools, and it's very common in the county towns in China. There are only 3 high schools in the county, 1 general high school and 2 vocational high schools. And the 2 vocational high schools even share 1 art teacher. So if you want to make this happen, there are not too many people you need to communicate with. Within less than 1 hour, we talk about both. We talk with the artists, the university teachers, and also the local high school teachers, and the collaboration was established. Also, besides that, this symbol making activity, it was not created specifically for this project. It came from a collaborative practice between the 2 artists, Li Ming and Zhu Changquan. So in 2020, they used the symbol, copying and transforming it between each other as a way of communication and make a collaborative exhibition. And then in 2024, this symbol became a new medium connecting artists, the university students, and high school students and local audiences in Qingyuan. Later, it continued to evolve into another project called Meme to Jan, which explored the relationship between AI and artistic friendship, in which I'm also involved. So that's an exhibition held in Hangzhou and Shanghai, edition 1 and edition 2. So in this case, I think this project was not about delivering artistic knowledge to the county town, but it was about creating a playful situation where different people could create a shared language, develop mutual understanding, and maybe simply spend some time together. Also, in this project, we surprisingly preserve the I think the interesting and the playful part of the artistic practices itself and play with the public side dimension. So that's pretty much what I would talk about this Clydo. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dingyu. We have more questions popping up now, so I'll be a little bit selective.
Okay.
I might ask Haoduo to kindly just mute just for a minute. So there's actually a question addressed to Haoduo. It seems there's a high degree of overlap, organic community organizing in your practice. Was this something that you felt the need to research or learn, or did it evolve from your time within the community? Can help translate this question. 似乎你的实践中有很大一部分是自发形成的社区组织，这是你当时觉得有必要专门去研究或学习的东西，还是说它更多是在你长期参与社区与社区共处的过程中自然发展出来的？ This question was addressed to Haoduo, if you would like to answer. Seems Haoduo's picture is frozen. Yeah, just at the perfect timing. We'll give them a minute maybe to return to this event. Meanwhile, there's also a question addressed to Ran. Having practiced abroad and returned, did you need to go through a return process in your practice, or did the departures and practicing in Western metropolises feel like the departure constantly?
For me personally, I don't feel like there is a clear like back and forth process because I've always been migrating. I've always been floating, and also because I'm currently based in between Vancouver, Canada, and Kaili, China. So my personal life is always switching between different cultural contexts, and that also is a good way to provide me a kind of dialectical back and forth vision into the things we're working on. So yeah, that's my question for the answer.
There's also another question, also for Baopu. Could you share how you approach presenting the works and the research developed in Guizhou outside of Guizhou? How you've experienced the reception in different places in China and internationally? Thank you.
That's a really good question. Thank you. So for me, for Felt, we do collaborative projects with different cities. For example, in Guangzhou, we do some like presentations about sharing how our work has been developed. And in New York, we have done a collaborative, like a whole day workshop in New York with another institution. I can feel like in different cities, we are providing different layers of cultural context. For example, just like what Yunshan was talking about, the drinking culture in Guizhou. If we are presenting this in Guangzhou, that's much easier because we all know the comparison between different culture in a Chinese context would be like. But if we are doing that in New York, I'll provide more cultural background about the drinking, about how people are socializing in a certain context. So in different cities, we do different predictions on the audiences to see if we can find the common ground on communication. Yeah, that's the answer.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank
Shall we
you.
say if Haoduo has returned?
Yes, yes.
哦，好的。
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Did you hear the question earlier?
We already heard it.
对于我来说，就是我觉得更多是在不断的接触，在倾听和观察，也就是说，在这种实践的过程当中，去得到这种反馈之后，再回到我个人的一些对话，应该是我的一些思考。其实很多的，包括是不是儿童的项目，还是就是我们做的这样的一个驻留的项目，都是因为有某一些契机让我去思考这个问题。但是其实前提是，我刚才前面说的，就是让在说的那个时候，就是说。如果我不当一个艺术家的时候，那我会做一个什么样的人？那其实是回到一个我对艺术的一个质疑的当下的艺术的一个质疑的这么一个背景之下，所以我会把原来很多的一些经验，就是一些包括一些理论，就是我可能会先把它搁置，先把它放一边。然后我还是在一个实践当中去，保持一个开放的态度，去包容。有时候我觉得我就是一个容器，就是我会接纳很多很多的不同方面的，这个观念也好，还是不同的工作方法、不同的工作经验也好，我觉得就像一个容器一样，我把自己作为这么一个状态，对。
Haoduo thinks that he mainly talks about how he answered the question of what kind of person he wants to be besides as an artist. So he always listen and think through the process, whether it's with the children or with the adults. When we considering the residency program, Haoduo is like a container to receive like kids and adults advice and their thinking, and then naturally grow into this kind of organization, whether it's Kindergarten Without Wall or the Art Ish Gongqi. And also, I want to add to that is in Hainan is a tropical city, so people here are more chilled when we come to do things together. So that is why we don't have any rigid aims, or we don't preset our goals. So all things are come naturally and very organically. So that is how we like learn in the process and organize in the process. Yeah, that is our answer. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
I think we
can
move
move
on
on
to
to
some of the final questions. The two audiences members mentioned the idea of the county town. So one particularly, this one's from Hien. She mentioned, I really resonate with the term county town as I was also born in a similar town in Vietnam. So the state of betweenness, as Dingyu Hu mentioned, is very interesting to me. My question is also for her question is also for Dingyu. How do you see curatorial and community building practices as at a contemporary art institution as capable of preserving or contributing to this betweenness? And does this offer an alternative format to the one metropolitan contemporary art institutions typically provide?
It's a very difficult and important question. I think for me, this Contiton does not mean some elsewhere or a peripheral, or say, quoting from EC Contemporary, but not in an offensive way. It's not an off-center for me. It's not an elsewhere, but it's actually the main arena for the majority of people. So I treat it as the center of the life of ordinary people. In this way, this in-betweenness, this creating or preserving of this in-betweenness is not a alternative practice, but a repositioning of attention and time and energy. But also, let me read the question again. As capable of preserving or contributing to this betweenness. Yes. So first, reposition ourselves into the arena of ordinary people's life, and then to encourage the individual artist to deal with the Contiton temporalities along with their individual media-specific artistic practices. At the same time, the museum would play would play a role as a mediator to compose some playful situation between the artistic practices and the Contiton audiences. At the same time, but for me, the metropolitan art institutions have all kinds of agencies that are quite dominant in the art world that we are all very familiar with. But then at this institution, we encourage the art practices to come back to the daily life experiences. And in that way, it's naturally encourages new, new creations based on these in-betweenness, because change, transition, negotiation is what happens in the Conti town, and that another way would be termed as in-betweenness. I hope I have answered your question.
Thank you so much. We're very aware in Beijing time zone now. It's close to midnight
sleepy.
already.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry to keep everyone awake. But if we just have energy to go through one last question, because I do find it a very critical, important question. So this one is also addressed for Ran. So the audience mentioned, I found it very interesting and powerful how you pointed to the resemblance between decolonization practice theory and the practice of curating, preserving, and developing minority ethnic cultural arts and crafts. How do you navigate the line between curating as an outsider advocate and curating as someone embedded within the culture itself?
Great. It's an honor to answer the last question. Just like when Haoduo said he's more like a vessel, for us, we're more like a channel. So the channel is more like a bridge between the so-called inside and outside. We are trying to make us as thick as possible so that many possibilities could just flow through us just like water. So we, as an institution, we're more like a moderator of different voices, different outsider or insider, that's quote unquote. We don't want to predetermine what is the line. So we are inviting more and more voices to see their perspective to determine this certain cultural context. So yeah, that's the so it's more like a small measuring tape that we can carry alongside the way. It's not like making big decisions from above, but more making small decisions in every single project. When we encounter certain dialogue or doing certain collaborations, we are also always keeping the standard to see what we can do and what we are being cautious of not doing so. So that's basically a general answer of the question. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's really tremendous. So with that, I would like to really thank you everyone so much, Binghuang, and thank you to all of our speakers, Dingyu, Ran, Yunshan, Ergao, and Haoduo, and Yang for your generous translation tonight, for sharing your practices, experiences, and perspectives. And each emerges from a very specific geographical, social, and cultural context. And I think that specificity is precisely what makes today's conversation so valuable. We have learned so much from everyone's sharing. You all gave us so much to think about, particularly around how artistic practices are shaped by very specific places, communities, and lived conditions, and how cultural life can be sustained through forms of knowledge, care, and collaboration that are often less visible within conventional artwork structures. I'm also very pleased that this conversation is the beginning of Off-Center rather than a one-off event. We hope the series will continue to open up connections between different places and practices across East and Southeast Asia and create space for these conversations to continue beyond today. A quick note before we close. Today's talk has been recorded. We will be editing the recording and making it available through EC Contemporary's website, YouTube, and Vimeo channels. So please do look out for that if you would like to revisit the rich conversation or share it with others. Thank you also to everyone who joined us today, wherever you are, and to those who contributed questions through the chat. We really appreciate you spending your Saturday afternoon, and for all of our speakers and Binghuang spending your Saturday night with us. And thank you, Binghuang, for bringing this group of practitioners together and for helping us begin this first edition of Off Center with such a rich and thought-provoking conversation. So thank you again, everyone. We hope to see you at the next Off Center.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Care.
afternoon and good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.